Life is Strange, Steph's Story by Rosiee Thor. Steph Gingrich, a recent college graduate with a degree in game design and an impressive collection of anxieties, moves in with her dad in Seattle. It's not exactly her first choice, but with her funds running low and no desire to work a corporate job, she begrudgingly takes up residence in his spare room, which she finds eerily bare and empty. The white walls and lack of clutter feel like a void, mocking her with their emptiness. She longs for the organized chaos of her dorm room, where every inch of wall space was covered in posters, concert tickets, and concept art from her senior project, a tabletop RPG set underwater that culminated in a battle between mecha mermaids and an undead legion of shipwrecked sailors. Seeking an escape, Steph spends most of her time at Save Point, the board game café where she works as a barista. It's the perfect job for her, allowing her to indulge her love of gaming and geek culture while also providing a steady income and a sense of community. One afternoon, a girl named Izzy walks in. She's a cool rocker type with an edgy style, and Steph is immediately smitten. Steph learns that Izzy is the guitarist and songwriter for a local band called Vinyl Resting Place, and has come to the cafe to leave a flyer for their upcoming show. After Izzy leaves, Jordy, Steph's coworker and best friend, mentions that Izzy was his French tutor back in college and that she's a lesbian. He's terrible at flirting, but he knows chemistry when he sees it, and he immediately sets about trying to set Steph and Izzy up. Steph is immediately intrigued and decides to go to the show. She invites Jordy to come along as backup, and on Saturday night they head to Bar None. During the show, Steph is captivated by Izzy's talent and stage presence, and afterwards she ends up backstage with Izzy, who's just been kicked out of her band. Steph offers words of comfort and support, and Izzy opens up to her about her bandmates' lack of understanding for her music and her desire to sing about things that matter to her. They end up playing together, and Steph is blown away by Izzy's original song, Riot Pride, an anthem about queer identity and activism. Before Izzy leaves, she invites Steph to come to band practice. Excited about the prospect of playing music with Izzy, Steph heads to her dad's garage to dust off her old drum set and let him know about her new band. She's surprised to learn that he was also in a couple of bands back in the day, though the only one she remembers is called the Kazoo Keepers. She brushes off his offer to stay for dinner so she can make it to Izzy's for their first practice session. At Izzy's house, Steph meets her other housemates, Bruce and Saturn, and is immediately impressed by how organized and clean everything is. Izzy's garage, however, is a different story, full of amps and instruments and chords. They set up and start playing, and the music flows between them like magic. Before long, Izzy suggests they come up with a band name, and after brainstorming, Steph suggests they call themselves Drugstore Makeup, after the first eyeshadow palette Izzy ever bought, a gift from her dad when she was 12 and just beginning to come out as trans. Steph's acceptance and understanding of Izzy's identity deepens their connection, and they share their first kiss. As spring turns to summer, Steph and Izzy spend all their free time together, practicing and writing songs. They debut their new band at a local coffee shop, and the response is overwhelmingly positive. Steph is thrilled to introduce Izzy to her friends, Leah, Ollie, and Jordy, and they quickly become part of their inner circle. At Seattle Pride, they celebrate their love and their queer identities with friends and family. But the day is marred by a run-in with Astrid and the other members of Vinyl Resting Place, who make some snide comments about Izzy leaving the band. Over the summer, Steph and Izzy play more shows and record a few songs in their friend Jerry's studio. She also meets Izzy's parents and is warmed by their obvious acceptance and support. But there are still challenges, as Steph struggles to come to terms with her past and the loss of her mom during the storm that destroyed her hometown of Arcadia Bay. She also worries about Izzy's tendency to disappear after shows, leaving Steph to celebrate with their friends on her own. When fall arrives, Steph finds herself falling into a deep depression. The anniversary of her mom's death passes, and she's unable to shake the feeling that she's a burden to those around her. She pushes away her friends and withdraws, spending most of her time on the couch watching Critical Role and eating junk food. Izzy tries to help, suggesting that Steph seek professional help, But Steph is resistant. Instead, she throws herself into planning for their upcoming West Coast tour, hoping it will be the distraction she needs to pull herself out of her funk. Izzy leaves town to visit her parents for Hanukkah, and Steph is left alone with her thoughts. She finally decides to follow Izzy's advice and research seasonal affective disorder, hoping to find ways to cope with her depression. She also starts chatting with a fan on Reddit, Gabe, who's been persistently asking Drugstore Makeup to play a show in his small town of Haven Springs, Colorado. When Steph mentions that she could use some clear skies, Gabe invites her to come to Haven. As winter descends and the holidays approach, Steph's depression deepens, and she finds herself withdrawing further. Izzy returns from her trip and tries to help, but Steph pushes her away. They begin planning for their upcoming tour, and Steph hopes that it will help them reconnect and rekindle their passion. She spends hours researching venues and designing merch, while Izzy focuses on their set lists and booking shows. They work well together, but there's still a distance between them, a coldness that Steph can't seem to shake. Just before the tour begins, Steph runs into Jordy on the street, and they finally talk things out. Jordy explains that he was hurt by Steph's withdrawal and that he misses their friendship. Steph apologizes and invites him to their kickoff gig. She also gives him a tour t-shirt as a peace offering, and Jordy is thrilled, immediately pulling it on and posing for a photo. That night, Steph heads to her dad's house to say goodbye and give him a tour t-shirt. He's surprised to learn that she's quit her job at the café, but he's supportive of her decision to pursue music full-time. He also encourages her to open up more about her feelings and admits that he regrets not doing the same when she was younger. His girlfriend, Renee, gives Steph a housewarming gift for her new place with Izzy. It's a small gesture, but it means a lot to Steph, like a sign of approval from a mother figure. The tour kicks off in Seattle, and they play to a packed house full of friends and family, including Izzy's parents. Afterward, Steph overhears Izzy talking about the talent scouts who will be at some of their shows and the possibility of getting a record deal. Izzy is excited about the prospect of success, but Steph can't help but feel a sense of dread. It's not that she doesn't want Izzy to achieve her dreams. She just worries that it will come at the expense of their relationship. They play shows in Salem and Sacramento, and Steph spends time with her grandma, who offers some words of wisdom about grief and loss. She explains that it's okay to let go of the sadness and that it doesn't mean forgetting about the person you loved. Steph is comforted by her grandma's words, but she still feels lost and uncertain about her future. In Reno and Salt Lake City, they play to enthusiastic crowds, and Izzy has meetings with representatives from record labels who are interested in signing Drugstore Makeup. But after the shows, Izzy disappears to decompress, leaving Steph feeling increasingly isolated and alone. She tries to distract herself with friends and sightseeing, but it's hard to shake the feeling that something is wrong. When they arrive in Haven Springs, Colorado for a show at the Black Lantern, Izzy is immediately struck down by altitude sickness. Gabe, the guy she's been talking to on Reddit, takes them to his place above the bar so Izzy can rest. Steph is captivated by the town and its quirky charm, and she spends the afternoon exploring with Gabe, who shows her all his favorite places, from the ice cream parlor to the record store to the park by the lake. It's a small town, but it feels full of life and possibility. That night, they play their show to an audience of one, Gabe. But despite the lack of a crowd, they have a great time, playing their songs and even trying out some new material. Izzy debuts a new song she wrote for Steph, and the lyrics are full of love and longing, but also a sense of uncertainty. Afterward, they head up to the roof and look out over the town. Steph tells Izzy how much she loves Haven Springs and that she wants to stay. Izzy is shocked and hurt and accuses Steph of abandoning her. Steph tries to explain that it's not about Izzy or the band, but that she needs to do something for herself. They end up breaking up, and Izzy leaves in the morning. Steph watches her drive away, feeling lost and alone, but also a strange sense of relief. Heartbroken and lost, Steph spends the next few days wandering around Haven, trying to come to terms with what happened. Gabe and Ryan are supportive, and Charlotte offers her a job at the record store and radio station, but Steph is still unsure what to do with her life. She's not ready to leave Haven Springs, but she also doesn't know how to stay. Finally, Gabe challenges her to a game of foosball, with the stakes being that if he wins, Steph has to stay in Haven Springs. Steph agrees, and even though she loses, she realizes that she's already made up her mind. She tears up her bus ticket to Denver and embraces her new life in Haven. Over the next few weeks, Steph settles into her new job and apartment. She decorates her space with help from her friends, and slowly but surely, Haven Springs begins to feel like home. She starts drawing again, and even though she misses Izzy, she knows that she made the right decision. As spring arrives, Steph stands on the roof of the Black Lantern, looking out over the town she now calls home. She takes a deep breath and smiles, finally feeling like herself again. Arcadia Bay may be gone, but she's found a new place to belong. And even though she doesn't know what the future holds, she's ready to face it head-on, with the support of her friends and the love of this little town in the mountains. If you enjoyed this book breakdown, please consider liking this video and subscribing to get notified when we post our next breakdown.